All right, family. We have Katja today. All right, did I say that correctly? I know
Kasia.
I literally Kasia. Okay,
Yes.
Kasia. Guys, I literally just tried that like 3 times, and I'm gonna get it. I promise. But I have her joining me today, and she's a therapist and also an author for her new book, The Chameleon's Game. So just to kind of get us started, so our listeners can have a good understanding of your background, why don't you talk to us a little bit about that?
Okay, so I am originally from Poland, but I've been living in the US for 22 years now. And my education is clinical psychology. I completed my education in Poland, and in the US, I studied theology in Chicago, got my MA degree there. And my passion always has been to health and well-being since I remember when I was a little kid, 8, 7, 9. I already was asking questions, and I was so interested in just how people function. And
Mm-hmm.
so all I've been doing since then is just following this path of discovering and more and more and more and learning and all the time improving and working on myself too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote a few books, and I started doing therapy with people. I really enjoy this work. It feels like real calling. And I got into a relationship on the way in life with a man, with my former partner, and it turned out it was toxic. So
Mm-hmm.
even my education didn't save me from it.
Yeah.
Um, I just had to go through some things to figure things out through experience, not through knowledge.
Yeah.
But it ended some time ago, and then I decided to write a book because I started helping women during therapy. Started helping women with who had toxic relationships or was still in toxic relationships, and they just convinced me to write a book. So I did.
Yeah.
I did, and that's how the Chameleon's Game happened.
Millions game started.
Hmm.
Amazing. So the moment that made you feel like now was the time to share your journey was it those women coming to you?
Yeah, I mean, the end of the relationship, even if I could predict it, because it was going downhill more and more and more, I still couldn't
Mm-hmm.
believe when it finished, when it ended. And when it did, I started diving into professional literature about narcissism and especially covert narcissism. So
Mm-hmm.
I got really, really educated and in this topic. And when I was working with women and kind of explaining to them how the mechanisms of those kind of relationships. At the beginning, they told me, "Oh, you should write an article. Oh, you should write an article." So I wrote some articles, but there were so many of them, it could be a book. so yes, so yes, they were just asking me because it was so helpful that they said you should write something so others can just get some help too.
Yeah, and then you birthed the
Mhm.
chameleons game. So
Yes.
within that relationship, what was the moment that made you finally realize that that relationship and situation was what it was?
Well, I started getting my suspicions
Mm-hmm.
uh, probably in the second year, maybe third year of this relationship, and it went for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because the mood swings and silent treatments and outbursts of totally unjustified anger,
Mm-hmm.
um, for no reason, So I started having suspicions, and I had knowledge. So my first conclusion was that probably he has some personality disorder. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
knew he had some traumas in previous in younger age, at a younger age. So I thought at the beginning, oh, it was just trauma. But then it was too consistent. trauma is trauma, but when you have a personality disorder, it's very, very consistent. It just doesn't change. So nothing was helping, and I started having my suspicions, but I was still trying to, okay, I should understand it. Oh, maybe it's a bad day, trying to explain his behaviors. But then it went very slowly, I went deeper and deeper and deeper into this relationship, and it was not getting any better. It was just getting worse. And it ended finally when he started flirting with somebody else and professing love to the other person. And I said, no, that's enough. That's enough. That was the proof that no, it's not getting any better, and no more giving chances. It's just no.
Yeah. Did you have much of a support system during that time or relationship?
Not really. I mean, I have a very close friend in Poland who is excellent therapist. So we are always in touch. So I was talking a lot to her about those things. So this type of relationship, support I had. But that's it. Here in the US, I have no family. All family is in Poland. So, and most of my friends stayed there too. And I just didn't talk about it much. I thought that I could handle things on my own, and because I have a lot of patience and I can manage my emotions really, really well. I was not getting into personal drama. I was just handling things on the go, so it didn't help either in terms of ending this relationship, because every time when something happened and there was some kind of attack, emotional attack, or he was not violent, but kind of emotionally abusive, that I could say. I immediately handled it. I don't know if you know the emotional freedom technique, EFT tapping technique.
Not too much, but I would love for you to talk about that more.
Yes, so I do this with clients, and it helps a lot with dealing with emotions immediately on the spot. So I was doing that. So whatever happened, I immediately addressed how I felt, and that's what helped me. That was my actually support system, if I can say that. My ability and willingness to deal with everything that was happening.
Yeah.
So that helped, actually.
Okay, great. Yeah. So for those of us who are used to the classical definition of a narcissist, what exactly is a chameleon in a relationship?
Oh, well, chameleon is this animal that changes its colors depending on environment. So it when the chameleon sits on the tree, it becomes green. When it sits on the sand, it becomes beige. If it just changes colors all the time. So that's a perfect metaphor for a covert narcissist, because the regular narcissist, the overt narcissist that we are familiar with most of the time, is the one who is really, big ego, better than everybody. Everyone else is beneath them. Right. So huge personalities, and they are the best, right? And they try to prove everybody else that they are less worthy or kind of lower class of people. But with covert narcissists, it's the other way around, meaning they have very low self-esteem, and they play the victim role all the time. They are the victims. So they will blame you for everything. They will never take responsibility for their own action. it's like another form of getting attention from people, because when you are a victim, you demand attention of people. Oh, I'm the poor one, please focus on me and help me. So they all the time look for empathy, for rescuing them. So and no matter what you do, even if you abandon yourself in the process because you want to help them so much, you will be still accused for being not good enough and hurting them. So that's like a never-ending story, and they will never leave the victim role.
Okay.
So it has to end up in the disaster, because their goal is to create drama, to create emotional kind of turmoil in the relationship, because they feed on your emotions. So peace and solution or resolution is never their goal. It's just So that's the I'm going back to the chameleon. They just kind of copy who you are to fit into your world perfectly, and that's the lure, because you think that you met your other half, like your twin, like somebody who is like you, has the same values and the same everything, but it's just a lure. They will adjust to you to become very believable, and once when you buy it, then there is a turn 180 degrees.
So as an example of that, say, a couple is just starting out and, the man is getting to know the woman and he's asking her, what are your favorite likes and things of that nature. And then saying, oh yeah, I like this too. Oh, I like this music and this art, only to kind of almost mirror that in a sense to get close.
Yes. The mirroring is the official word that it's actually used in psychology for exactly this behavior. Of course, there are sometimes people whose values match a lot, and they are alike. So it's not that, if two people meet and they have the same values and interests, it means that one of them is a liar. No.
Right.
But there are other signs and warning signs that when you have to pay attention to see that they are so perfect one moment and they are like you, and they will, they are just twins, and there will be a moment when, for example, you don't give them enough attention, or you set a boundary, and there will be a flip. There will be accusation that you're hurting them, or there will be an accusation that you did something wrong, and suddenly they will be not happy anymore. Yeah. So
I know there are a lot of people out there that are probably, thinking and saying, oh, I'm way too smart to ever fall into that relationship or into a situation like that. So what would you say is like the biggest misconception, that people have of people who do fall into those relationships?
Misconception. Well, my example is perfect, because I had a really good education, and I already started working a little bit as a therapist when we met. So you could say, oh, she's an expert on knowing people's behaviors, right? But there is a knowledge and there is experience, life experience, but there is also the subconscious that every one of us has. And sometimes it may have unresolved or unknown patterns. It could be from childhood, it could be from generational trauma, and you just don't know you have it. So no knowledge will save you from something that you don't know that you have it, right? And when we go into those relationships, we trigger those parts that we don't know about ourselves and our deep subconscious. And in my opinion, it's our job to know those parts and use the relationship to to know those parts and integrate those parts, because it didn't happen by accident. Some deeper part of us chose this relationship, right? It's not like anybody was forced to it. So the misconception could be that if you're smart and if you're educated, or if you if you have really, good self-esteem and well positioned in the society, oh, it won't happen to you. No, there is no guarantee. No guarantee. Yeah, we still are humans. We are people. All of us carry some things that we have to process and figure out in life through experience. You cannot read it in the book. You cannot learn it from somebody else. You just have to experience it to learn. And some relationships are for that. Yes, I actually realized that after the relationship ended, because in the relationship I was really asking this question. Through this whole relationship I was asking this question: what am I doing here? Why am I still here? Because on one hand I was seeing more and more and understanding more and more, and the other part of me was still participating in it. So, and I didn't have any bad childhood trauma like some people really do. My family was very average. There was no trauma, no abuse, no dysfunction. It was just regular family. So why? And my parents were not narcissists. So why did I choose this man? And then when the relationship ended, and I started really digging deep into what happened, I had a answer. Finally, it came in the dream. And then when I woke up in the middle of night, suddenly all the pieces, fell together into one coherent picture. So my grandmother, on the mother's side, she was a narcissist, and I didn't know her well because she died when I was still a teenager. But I didn't like her. She was so mean. She was really so mean person, and ended up being alone. And then I knew only a little bit from my mom about her mom, about the grandmother, and she was abusive a lot, and she hated women, she hated girls, and so she hated my mother, and really adored her son, who was my mother's younger brother. So he was the prince, and my mother was the Cinderella. Really treated badly. But somehow my mom didn't, she came out a really good and loving person, so it didn't destroy her. So then when I woke up in the middle of night and I remembered my grandmother and my mom and some stories that I heard, suddenly I noticed, I realized that there was some generational kind of a pattern that I took subconsciously or unconsciously into my own life and decided to play it out on my path. And by going into this relationship, I worked through some deep stuff that was not mine personally, but it came out when I was working. And then one time I had this session with this woman who does remote healing, and she can see things, in energies. And she didn't know anything about this. It was actually before, when I was still in this relationship. I was just physically sick, and she was helping me. I had some bad pneumonia. So she was helping me, and she said, well, when I'm looking at your energy, it looks like you are the last one in your generations. You are here to finish the line. It's like, oh, okay. So I didn't pay attention too much when she said that, but then, you know, when everything started falling into one coherent whole, I said, oh yeah, she told me that. So probably there was some generational trauma going in this line, and I just took it to finally release it. And that's the only explanation I got, because nothing else made sense. And I think I worked it through because I did very deep work, very intensive work at the end of the relationship and right after it ended. And it felt like I came out on the other side a different person. So, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think so. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Uh, Something like that. I don't know exactly what kind of methods she does. It's I think she uses pendulum too, but she kind of reads the fields. I don't know how, especially the generational one. So somehow she makes it all connected. Like she looks at your liver, for example, and she says, well, I see that this event in your childhood around 7 caused this pain, and I see the generational string on your grandmother's side from your father's side. So, you know, this type of stuff. Mm-hmm. Yes. Very interesting. Mm-hmm. Single biggest thing, I think it's the EFT, emotional freedom techniques that I've been doing for 20 years almost. Actually, yes, 20 years. 2005 when I learned it first. Um, yeah, so that and also me and my friend, the one that I mentioned, the therapist from Poland, we've been working on our own methods of working through emotional trauma and emotional patterns, and we came up with this process that we called inherence process, and it's actually kind of a deeper process. So I was using my own process on, you know, on those in those moments, and it worked really well. I could um, I could I could process tons of some deep stuff. I didn't even know how to name it. I could only feel it. Um, and because it was so intense, and I just didn't stop until it was all gone. It didn't take me a lot of time. Probably a month later, I was okay, which is huge, because I know how long it can take for people, women and men, to heal from those kind of toxic relationships. But I was in a better position because being aware how important it is to take care of your emotional health, I was doing it on the go, kind of, you know, during the relationship. I was not waiting for the complete collapse, because then it's much harder to, you know, to regenerate from, you recuperate and regenerate. Yeah, heal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it will be really hard to describe the steps of it, but the main principle is that the one layer of dealing with our inner material, if I can say that, it's the obvious trauma. So, for example, something happened to you, you are hurt, you have anger, or you may have guilt or shame or something. And those are the obvious things, right? It's hard, it's you want to get rid of it, it doesn't make you feel good. But there's another layer underneath. And the layer underneath is that there is a part of us that just wants it. And, you know, you have to be cautious to say it, because if somebody is abused or deeply traumatized and you tell the person, oh, you wanted it, that's really not fair. So first we have to deal with the hurt. But then when we go deeper to our own patterns, there's always a part of us that has some twisted interest in holding on to the trauma, holding on to the bad pattern, holding on to the toxic relationships. And this process helps to go immediately down to that layer. So you don't even have to deal with the trauma on top. You just go deeper, and suddenly one part of you says, yes, I really don't want this relationship. But then you go deeper, and then you feel it from the inside. Well, I really can't release this relationship or leave this relationship because the part of me feels so guilty. And so there's always some self-interest, twisted, toxic, bad, but it is there underneath that actually holds on to something we don't want. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, first we have to realize that just thinking about a child, like regular child, the child is only a half of the whole, because the whole is child and parent, right? The child cannot exist without parent. I mean, it could be a stranger, but adult, right? We call it parent. We call the person parent. So it's always both. The same when we look at when we take adult person and we call this person a parent, there is the other part of the end. There is a child. You cannot call an adult a parent if it doesn't have a child, if the person doesn't have a child. So, and everybody focuses on the child, right? And the inner child when we work with our deeper self. And because I always ask questions and try to see the mechanisms behind everything. At some point, my mind started asking question, okay, where is the inner parent? Okay, they are both. They are unit. They cannot exist without each other, because one defines the other. So when I asked this question, I suddenly realized that our that our deep self, the core self that we have, has two structures. It's not only the inner child, but it's also the inner parent, and they are totally different in function. So the inner child is the center. It's the wild energy, creation. It wants to live. It wants to explore. It wants to expand. It wants to be crazy and laugh all the time and run around. That's the inner child. And the inner parent is the is the structure that helps this energy to exist in the world, because our world here, the physical world, is the world of form. Everything has some kind of shape and form, some kind of rules, and the nature is full of rules. And we people too. So So the inner parent structure is the one who can think, observe, choose, discern, decide what's good for the inner child, what's bad. Kind of like parent in the real world, right? So the parent is like an interface between the child and the external world. It regulates. It helps because the child without a parent, it will kill itself very soon because it doesn't have boundaries. It just doesn't know anything. It just wants to go, and there's plenty of rules that you have to follow. If there's a running car car that is coming, there's a rule. You don't go there if you want to still stay alive. If you want to be alive, you just stop, right? So there's a rule. And child doesn't know that. It will just go because it wants to run in a moment, right? And done. So the parent is, yes, it's the boundary. It's the safe boundary that helps the inner child to form the wild energy into something beautiful, and it prevents from self-destruction. Yes, and so then when I started working in this fashion with people, it turned out that the inner child has absolutely no problems. It doesn't need any healing. It doesn't need any saving. It's just there all the time, happy and ready to play with life. The only thing that it's missing is the inner parent structure who will help the child to do it. And now, the inner parent structure absorbs different messages from outside world. So if you had a critical parents, for example, and you heard a lot of criticism, then that's what the inner parent structure believes about you, about the inner child. So then that's where the dysfunction is. Sometimes not intelligent, sometimes not aware, sometimes full of trauma and drama, inner parent structure, and it projects on the child, on the inner child, all this bad stuff. So the child cannot express itself fully because it needs the healthy boundary. So when you start working with the inner parent structure, realizing that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you, it's just a bad parent that has bad convictions and beliefs, then it helps a lot to process it. Yeah. Well, we still can use the same different modalities to release emotions. Like, for example, when I use the emotional freedom techniques, we still work with beliefs and things that are trauma that are stored in the inner parent structure. We can use the same methods, but just the understanding that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you internally, deeply in your core, creates some kind of perspective that it's much easier to to work with those beliefs, knowing that it's not you, that it's not your deepest self that needs rescuing or healing. It's just you have more understanding and more compassion, for more kindness for this inner child, knowing that it's perfectly fine. It's just waiting for the inner parent to show up. And our inherence, the inherence process that we came up with my friend, it's designed to work directly with the inner parent structure. It goes right there, and kind of, if I can paint a little picture here. So imagine that there's a inner child as a core of your being, and there is a boundary around, right? There is a boundary that helps the core to exist and not spill. Okay, and so the boundary, it should be focused on the inner child, to know it, to know it needs, to know its needs, and the potential and everything. So there should be like really, really sharp awareness of who the inner child is. But what happens is when the inner parent structure develops and it's getting all the bad messages from outside world, it kind of turns its back. So the inner parent, instead of looking at the child and knowing it and its needs, doesn't know anything. It's concerned with all the stuff outside. Oh, I have to be good, or I have to control this, or I have to please the others. Oh, I have to look nice because they will judge me, right? So it's always attention on the outside world instead of inside. And when the structure is twisted this way, there will be always this is the source of drama and trauma and depression and anxiety. And the moment when you turn the structure in the proper position, the magic happens. How to do it, that's a different story, but our process literally turns the inner parent structure inside. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Well, yeah, to me and probably many other people, what it was the immediate feeling like, I know this person for ages. This is my soulmate. And you feel like the next day you feel like you love this person. You mean, so this immediate love from first sight, that's kind of to be careful with. I'm not saying that there are no people who had the love from first sight and it went well, but many times it's just the first sign that if you meet somebody and you don't know this person at all, but you are willing to get married the next day, or move in with this person without knowing, or thinking that it's your other half and this is your soulmate, and you know this person deeply, usually what you know deeply is the trauma that this person is carrying and you are carrying, and it found each other. When you feel so deeply the next day or immediately, that's usually trauma meeting trauma, and because it's so strong, it's deep, it's old. It's probably old. So that's the first sign. If you think you want to move in with somebody the next day, I mean, I'm of course exaggerating, but the real love, yes, mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's perfect, she's perfect, there's nothing wrong with her or him. Perfection, and yeah. Usually the real love, it's also friendship, and friendship is something that's developing over time when you really know the person, all the good and bad sides. Yeah. So. Mm-hmm. The feeling of deep self, when I connect to it. Peace, bliss, and the feeling that everything is absolutely okay. Nothing needs to be changed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, I am a big advocate of the emotional freedom techniques, as I mentioned, and this is something very simple. It's natural, and it's free, because there's so many EFT practitioners now, and free material, free exercises, free tutorials, free books, ebooks, and articles, websites that people can educate themselves a little bit about it, and just one EFT exercise, it's not longer than 10 minutes. And you can just open YouTube, find a already pre-made EFT exercise, follow the script, and 10 minutes a day will probably save you from a long, long grief after a relationship like that. Just one exercise a day. And it's free and simple. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's about finding yourself. It's about reconnecting with deep self. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I would say that because we are talking about relationships, I would say that the most important relationship in every person's life is the relationship with the self, with the deep self, because nobody can be responsible for it. And we come to this world, with a big potential to become somebody, to know each other, to know ourselves. So this is our job, and this is our foundation of existing in this world, to know who we are. Because if we don't know who we are, we cannot express ourselves. If we cannot express ourselves, we cannot share our gifts. If we don't share our gifts, then the whole human society is suffering because of it. So it's our job to really take care of this relationship with who we are, and then other relationships will be reflection of it. Mm-hmm. Yes, the book can be found on Amazon. It's called the Chameleon's Game. And ebooks are available too on Google Books and other e-platforms. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope it will be helpful for many, many people. Thank you.